Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. Here is your chemistry teacher, and in this video we are going to continue first chapter, that is the language of chemistry. So continuing that, let's see what is chemical formula. Chemical formula is also called molecular formula, and it is defined as the symbolic representation of a molecule of substance, and that substance can be element or compound. For example, instead of writing carbon dioxide, we can also write CO2. So it means CO2 is the chemical formula of carbon dioxide, and the chemical formula of water is H2O. We can write the chemical formula of any compound by following some simple steps. So let's see what these steps are. First of all, we have to write the formula or symbol of positive ion on the left hand side. Like for example, we have written here Mg on left hand side because Mg is positive radical. It is magnesium radical. So its symbol is written on left hand side. And on right hand side, we have to write the formula or symbol of negative ion or negative radical. Like here we have written Cl negative. Then at the top right of the symbols of formula, we have to write the valency of these radicals. For example, magnesium's valency is 2, and at the top right of magnesium we have written here 2 positive, and chlorine's valency is 1 negative, so we have written 1 negative on the top right of chlorine. Then we have to crisscross the valencies of both the radicals. For example, after crisscrossing, the 2 of magnesium will become subscript of chlorine, and the 1 valency of chlorine will become the subscript of magnesium. So the formula will become as Mg1Cl2. And we don't have to bring the charges along with the valencies. We have to ignore the charges. For example, here we don't have to write that Mg1 negative and Cl2 positive. And we also don't write 1 if it is there in the formula. So we'll write here MgCl2. And then if any common factor is there, we have to remove that common factor also. We can see one more example regarding this. For example, if we have to write down the formula of calcium nitrate, so we'll write down the symbol of calcium and the formula of nitrate. And at the top right, we have to write down the valencies. So we'll write Ca2 positive, NO3 1 negative. Then after crisscrossing the valencies, it will become Ca1NO3, that is nitrate, and here 2. And keep one more thing in your mind, that whenever we are writing the complex radicals, then we have to write that radical in the bracket. Like NO3 is a complex radical, so we have written here NO3 in bracket. So here the formula will become CaNO3 2. Now let's see that how do we name the chemical compounds from their formula. Firstly, let us see that if we are having binary molecular compounds which contains non-metals only. So for that, firstly we write down the name of element with symbol on the left hand side. For example, the element with symbol on left hand side here is carbon, that is C. So firstly we will write its name. We have written carbon here. Then afterwards we have to write down the other element. Here we are having oxygen. Its name we have to write with the prefix di, tri, tetra, etc. and its name must end with the word ide, I-D-E, ide. So here only one oxygen atom is there, and for one we use the prefix mono. So here we have written mono, and we have to write ide at the end, oxide. So its name is carbon monoxide. Same is the case with the CO2. Firstly, on the left hand side, C is there. For this, we have to write down carbon, and here 2 oxygen atoms are there. So prefix will be di, and oxygen's name must end with the ide because it is on the right hand side. So its name is oxide, and full name of this formula is carbon dioxide. Similarly, SO2 is named as sulfur trioxide. And if we'll write here PCl5, its name will be written as phosphorus. 5 chlorine atoms are there, pentachloride. Like this we can name the binary molecular compounds which contains nonmetals. Then next is if we have binary compound containing one metal and one nonmetal. In this case, we have to write the name of metal firstly. That like here NaCl is there, so sodium is metal here. Its name is sodium written firstly, and then afterwards the name of non-metal is written afterwards with the suffix "ide". It is chlorine, so we'll not write here chlorine, we'll write here chloride, sodium chloride. Here calcium is metal and oxygen is non-metal, so it will be named as calcium oxide. Then afterwards Mg3N2 is there. Mg is metal, N is non-metal, so its name is written like magnesium nitride. Here we haven't written magnesium डाइनाइट्राइड. डाइनाइट्राइड हमने तब लिखना था अगर दोनों ही नॉन मेटल होते. Here we have one metal and one non-metal, so its name is written as magnesium nitride. Then next is about the naming of the compounds containing three elements and one of which is oxygen. अगर तो वैसा एक ही compound exist करता हुआ, then we have to use the suffix "ate" only. But if two compounds are there, then we have to use the suffix "ate" if we have more oxygen atoms, and if we have less oxygen atoms, then the suffix "ite" is used. For example, see here we have two compounds, that is NaNO3 and NaNO2. Both of them contains three elements and one of which is oxygen. Here we have O3 and here we have O2. More number of oxygen atoms, less number of oxygen atoms. And अभी हमने क्या डिस्कस किया, that if we have more number of oxygen atoms then we use the suffix "ate", and if we have less number of oxygen atoms then we use the suffix "ite". So for this compound we have written the name Na sodium NO3 nitrate. NaNO3 is sodium nitrate. Then for NaNO2 we have written the name sodium nitrite because we have less number of oxygen atoms here. Then for naming of acids, some different rules are followed. For example, for binary acids means the acids in which we have one hydrogen and one other element. These are named by adding prefix hydro and suffix IC to the name of second element. For example, if we have HCl, we have hydrogen and one other element, means it is a binary acid. So here we have to add the prefix hydro. So we have written hydro. Then we have to write the suffix IC. So with the name of chlorine, we have to add the suffix IC. So we have written hydrochloric. And at the end of the name, we have to write acid. So HCl is hydrochloric acid. Then afterwards, HF is there. Here also we'll write the prefix hydro. Then it is fluorine. So we are writing here fluoric acid. HF is hydrofluoric acid. If the acids contain any complex radical, then the name of the acid just depends on the second element. For example, if we have written here HNO3, it is an acid and in it the complex radical is there, that is NO3 negative. So its name depends on N, that is the second element. And in such kind of acids, we don't use prefix hydro. So on the basis of N, we can write here nitric acid. And for H2SO4, second element is sulfur, so its name is sulfuric acid. Then afterwards we have H2CO3. Second element is carbon, so its name is carbonic acid. Then we have H2SO3. Its name is sulfurous acid. And acids which have different number of oxygens only, like H2SO4 and H2SO3 contains same kind of elements, but here the number of oxygen atoms vary. The acid with more number of oxygen atoms will be written with the suffix IC, and the one with less number of oxygen atoms will be written with suffix OUS. So its name is sulfuric acid and its name is sulfurous acid. For many of the compounds, the common names are also written. Common names are the names which do not follow any systematic rule. For example, H2O O is formed by two radicals. These are H positive and OH negative. So its chemical name is hydrogen hydroxide, but its common name is water. For writing its name water, we don't have followed any of the rule. And NH3 is having common name ammonia, and according to the rules, its name is nitrogen trihydride. We also have a rule for naming of compounds having elements with variable valencies. For writing the names of such compounds, we write the valency in Roman numbers in brackets after the positive radicals. For example, in FeCl2, the valency of iron is 2. So, its name is written like iron, and afterwards we have to write its valency in brackets. In bracket, in Roman numerals, we write its valency, and afterwards what is present here? Chlorine, so we are writing here chloride. Likewise, in FeCl3, iron's valency is 3. So here we have written iron and 3 in Roman numerals and afterwards chloride. Same is the case with MnO2. Here manganese valency is 4. So it is written as manganese, and in the brackets in Roman numerals we have written 4 and oxide. Similarly for MnO, manganese, and in Roman numerals we have written 2 in bracket and then oxide. Similarly, we can write the name of other compounds having variable valencies. Then our next topic is relative atomic mass. As we know that an atom is very small in size that we can't even see it, so obviously the mass of an atom is also very less. For example, mass of one atom of hydrogen is 1.6735 into 10 raised to power minus 24 gram. And mass of one atom of oxygen is 2.6454 into 10 raised to power minus 23 grams. These masses are very small, and if we have to compare the masses of atoms in terms of their actual masses in grams, then it is very difficult. Therefore, the mass of some light atom is considered as unit and the mass of other atoms is compared to it. Initially, the mass of hydrogen atom was chosen as a unit or standard, and the masses of other atoms were compared with it. But later, this hydrogen atom as standard was replaced by oxygen atom as standard because different isotopes of hydrogen have different masses. Then in 1961, the stable isotope of carbon, that is carbon-12, was selected as a standard, and atomic mass unit was selected for expressing the atomic masses of various elements. Atomic mass unit is a unit used to express atomic and molecular weights. And one atomic mass unit is defined as 1/12 of the mass of an atom of carbon-12. Relative atomic mass or atomic mass of an element is defined as the number of times one atom of an element is heavier than 1/12 of the mass of an atom of carbon-12. Or it is also defined as the average relative mass of one atom of the element as compared to the mass of an element of carbon-12 taken as 12 atomic mass unit. For example, sodium is 23 times heavier than 1/12 of the mass of an atom of carbon-12. So we say that the atomic mass of sodium is 23 atomic mass unit. Likewise, the atomic mass of chlorine is 35.5 atomic mass unit and the atomic mass of oxygen is 16 atomic mass unit. When the relative atomic mass of an element is expressed in grams, then it is called the gram atomic mass. For example, the gram atomic mass of carbon is 12 gram and the gram atomic mass of oxygen is 16 gram. Then we have relative molecular mass. Relative molecular mass of a substance is the average mass of one molecule of it as compared to the 1/12 of mass of one atom of carbon-12 taken as 12 atomic mass unit. For calculating the relative molecular mass, multiply each element's atomic mass by the number of atoms of that element in the molecule and then add these values. For example, let's calculate the relative molecular mass of water, that is H2O. In one water molecule, we have two hydrogen atoms and the atomic mass of hydrogen is 1. and we have one oxygen atom and its atomic mass is 16. So it is calculated as 2 multiplied by 1 plus 1 multiplied by 16. It becomes equal to 2 plus 16, which is equal to 18. So the relative molecular mass of water is 18. Let's take one more example of ammonium sulfate. In the formula of ammonium sulfate molecule, we have 2 nitrogen atoms and the atomic mass of nitrogen is 14. So 2 multiplied by 14 plus, again we have 8 hydrogen atoms and the atomic mass of hydrogen is 1. So 8 multiplied by 1 is written here. Then afterwards we have 1 sulfur atom with atomic mass 32. Then 1 is multiplied with 32. Then we have 4 oxygen atoms here and the atomic mass of oxygen is 16. So 4 is multiplied by 16. And after calculating it, we got the value equal to 132. So the relative molecular mass of ammonium sulfate is equal to 132 atomic mass unit. Then we should also know that how can we calculate the percentage composition of any element in a compound. The percentage composition of an element is equal to the total amount of element present in one molecule of compound divided by molecular mass of compound multiplied by 100. For example, let's calculate the percentage of nitrogen in ammonium nitrate. Here firstly we'll calculate the molecular mass of ammonium nitrate, which comes out to be equal to 80 atomic mass unit. Then in one molecule of ammonium nitrate, the mass of nitrogen is 2 multiplied by 14, that is equal to 28 atomic mass unit. Then using the percentage composition formula, the percentage of nitrogen in ammonium nitrate is equal to mass of nitrogen in one molecule of ammonium nitrate divided by molecular mass of ammonium nitrate multiplied by 100. So it is equal to 28 divided by 80 multiplied by 100, which is equal to 35%. Now come to chemical equation. A chemical equation is a symbolic representation of an actual chemical reaction. The substances which take place in a reaction or the substances which are combined during the reaction are called reactants, and the new substances which are produced as a result of chemical reaction are called products. For example, if during a reaction magnesium reacts with sulfuric acid to form magnesium sulfate and hydrogen, so we'll write the equation like Mg plus H2SO4, then we have to put the arrow and then we'll write the products, that is MgSO4 plus H2. Following this chemical equation, it is very clear that while writing a chemical equation, the symbols and formulae of reactants are always written on left hand side and these are separated by plus sign. Like in this reaction, magnesium and sulfuric acid are the reactants and these are separated by plus sign. Then the symbols and the formulae of the products are written on the right hand side and these are also separated by plus sign. For example, in this reaction, magnesium sulfate and hydrogen are the products. So these are written on the right hand side of the equation and these are separated by plus sign also. Then the two sides of equation means the reactants and the products are separated by arrow pointing towards products. Then next we have to do some examples of the chemical equations. So let's see these examples. Number 1 is the example of such equations in which one reactant and 2 or 3 products are there. This kind of reactions involve decomposition reactions. For example, calcium carbonate on heating decomposes to form calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Zinc nitrate on heating decomposes to form zinc oxide, nitrogen dioxide and oxygen. The first one is the example in which we have one reactant and 2 products. Second is the example for reaction in which we have one reactant and 3 products. Then next one we have to tell about the example of chemical equation which involves 2 reactants and 1 product. Here we can give example of any combination or synthesis reaction. For example, carbon reacts with oxygen to form carbon dioxide. Here we have two reactants, these are carbon and oxygen, and one product, that is carbon dioxide. Then nitrogen reacts with hydrogen to form ammonia. Here also we have two reactants, these are nitrogen and hydrogen, which gives only one product, that is ammonia. Next example involves two reactants and two products. In such examples, you may write any double decomposition reaction. For example, you may write sodium hydroxide plus hydrochloric acid produces sodium chloride and water. Or you may also write silver nitrate plus sodium chloride gives silver chloride and sodium nitrate. Like this, here any double decomposition reaction can be written. Then next we have to tell the examples of chemical equations which involve two reactants and three or more products. The example of reaction with two reactants and three products is sodium bicarbonate plus hydrochloric acid gives sodium chloride, water and carbon dioxide. The example of reaction with two reactants and four products is potassium permanganate plus hydrochloric acid gives potassium chloride, manganese chloride, water and chlorine. Then we must also know to balance the chemical equations. A balanced chemical equation is that chemical equation in which the number of atoms of each element on reactant side is equal to the number of atoms of each element on product side. The balancing of chemical equations is based upon the law of conservation of mass. The law of conservation of mass states that in a chemical reaction, the total mass of the products must be equal to the total mass of reactants. There are various methods to balance the chemical equations such as hit and trial method, partial equations method, oxidation number method, ion electron method, algebraic method. But we have to do hit and trial method only as this is in our syllabus. So let's balance some equations by hit and trial method. Consider the chemical equation N2 plus O2 gives NO. Now let's count the number of atoms on reactant side and on product side. In this reaction we have two elements, that is nitrogen and oxygen. On reactant side, that is on left hand side, number of N atoms, that is nitrogen atoms, is 2. So we can write here 2. Then afterwards number of oxygen atoms on right hand side is also 2. So we can write here 2. Then on right hand side, that is on the product side, number of nitrogen atoms are 1 and number of oxygen atom is also 1. As we can see clearly from here that number of atoms on reactant side, that is on the left hand side, is not equal to the number of atoms of each element on the product side. It means this equation is unbalanced and we need to balance it. Now see, on reactant side we have 2 nitrogen atoms and on product side we have 1 nitrogen atom. So to balance it we can put 2 in front of NO, because if 2 are here, then अगर हम यहाँ पे 2 लगाएंगे then we will have 2 nitrogen atom. So by writing this equation like N2 plus O2 gives 2NO, we have number of oxygen atoms on left hand side equal to 2. Number of oxygen atoms on left hand side also equal to 2. And on product side now, means on right hand side, number of nitrogen atoms is equal to 2. And number of oxygen atoms is also equal to 2. So now it is clear that number of atoms of both elements are equal on reactant side and on product side. So it means the balanced equation here is N2 plus O2 gives 2NO. Then come to the second equation, that is Mg, magnesium plus nitrogen gives Mg3N2, that is magnesium nitride. So let's count the number of atoms on each side. Magnesium atoms 1 on left hand side, nitrogen atoms 2. On right hand side 3 magnesium atoms and number of nitrogen atoms 2. Here magnesium atom is 1 on left hand side and on right hand side it is 3. It means this equation is not balanced. Now to make the number of magnesium atom equal on both sides, if we put 3 here 3 magnesium atoms are there. अगर हम यहाँ पे भी 3 लगा देंगे, then here also magnesium atoms will be 3. So by writing the equation like 3Mg plus N2 gives Mg3N2. Count the number of atoms. Magnesium 3 on left hand side, nitrogen 2 on left hand side, 3 magnesium on right hand side, 2 nitrogen atoms on right hand side. Now see 3, 3. Both equal on left hand side and right hand side, and nitrogen atoms also equal on right hand side and left hand side. So the balanced equation here is 3Mg plus N2 gives Mg3N2. Moving on to the next equation, we have iron plus water gives ferrosulfuric oxide and hydrogen. Here in this equation we have 3 elements. These are iron, hydrogen and oxygen. So let's count the number of atoms of these elements on each side. We have 1 iron atom on left hand side, 2 hydrogen atoms on left hand side and 1 oxygen atom on left hand side. And on right hand side 3 iron atoms, 2 hydrogen atoms and 4 oxygen atoms. Now it is clear from here that we have unequal number of iron atoms and oxygen atoms on left hand side and right hand side. So to balance them, firstly we will balance iron atoms. Here we have 3 on right hand side, 1 on left hand side. So we can make it 3 by putting 3 in front of iron. So this equation can be written as 3Fe plus H2O gives Fe3O4 plus H2. Now let's again count the number of atoms. On left hand side 3 iron atoms, right hand side 3 iron atoms. Both are balanced now. Now 2 hydrogen atoms and again 2 hydrogen atoms. Oxygen atoms on left hand side 1 oxygen atom, on right hand side we have 4 oxygen atoms. Now here oxygen atoms are not balanced. So to balance oxygen atoms we can put 4 in front of H2O because here we have 4 oxygen atoms. अगर हम यहाँ पे 4 लगाएंगे तो यहाँ पे भी 4 oxygen atoms हो जाएंगे. So we can write the equation as 3Fe plus 4H2O gives Fe3O4 plus H2. Now again we have to count the number of atoms here. 3 iron on left hand side, 4 2s are 8 hydrogen atoms on left hand side and 4 oxygen atoms on left hand side. And on right hand side we have 3 iron atoms, 4 oxygen atoms and 2 hydrogen atoms. Now here iron atoms and oxygen atoms are equal, but the number of hydrogen atoms are not equal. Hydrogen on left hand side is 8 and number of hydrogen atoms on right hand side is 2. So to balance it means to make this 2 8. If we put 4 in front of H2, then 4 2s are here 8 hydrogen atoms will become. So what do we have to do? Writing this as same. Here we have to put 4. So here number of iron atoms on left hand side is 3. Number of hydrogen atoms 8. Number of oxygen atoms 4. On right hand side number of iron atoms 3. Number of oxygen atoms 4. And number of hydrogen atoms is 4 2s are 8. So this is the balanced equation here. So the balanced equation is 3Fe plus 4H2O gives Fe3O4 plus 4H2. We have one more equation for balancing. Here potassium dichromate, that is K2Cr2O7, reacts with HCl, that is hydrochloric acid, to form KCl, CrCl3, H2O and Cl2. So let's count the number of atoms of each element on both the sides. On left hand side we have 2 potassium atoms. So we'll write 2 here. Then chromium, we have 2 atoms. Chlorine, we have 1 atom of chlorine on left hand side. Hydrogen also 1, and oxygen 7 atoms are there. Then on right hand side, how many potassium atoms are there? It is 1. And chromium 1. Then chlorine, here 1 chlorine, 3 and 2. 1 plus 3 plus 2, it is equal to 6. So on right hand side we have total 6 chlorine atoms. And then hydrogen atoms, hydrogen we have 2 atoms. And oxygen we have 1 atom only. Then you can clearly see from here that these atoms are unequal on both the sides. So it is unbalanced equation. So to balance it, we have to put any number in front of these molecules. So let's see what can we do here. Now see that here we have 2 potassium atoms on left hand side, and on right hand side if we want 2 potassium atoms, then we can put 2 here. Clear? So we can write the equation same as earlier, but we will put 2 in front of KCl. So let's count the number of atoms again. Potassium 2 on left hand side, chromium 2 on left hand side, chlorine 1 on left hand side, hydrogen 1 on left hand side, oxygen 7 atoms are there. And on right hand side we have 2 potassium atoms, then chromium atoms 1, chlorine. Now number of chlorine atoms are changed here. Like here we have in KCl 2 chlorine atoms are there, plus in CrCl3 we have 3 chlorine atoms, and in Cl2 we have 2 chlorine atoms. So total is 2 plus 3 plus 2 equal to 7. Here we have 7 chlorine atoms. Then hydrogen we have 2 atoms, and oxygen 1 atom of oxygen. Now here potassium is balanced. Then moving on to the chromium. On this side we have 2 chromium atoms. अगर यहाँ पे हम आगे 2 लगा दें, then here also we will have 2 chromium atoms. So we can write the equation like this. We have put 2 in front of CrCl3. So counting the atoms again on both the sides. On left hand side we haven't made any change. So the number of atoms will remain same as earlier only. 2, 2, 1, 1 and 7. And on right hand side we have 2 potassium atoms. Chromium, now we have 2 atoms of chromium. Then of chlorine, in KCl 2 chlorine atoms are there. In CrCl3 now 2 3s are 6, means 6 chlorine atoms are there. Then here 2 chlorine atoms are there. Total chlorine atoms are 2 plus 6 plus 2, 10. Then afterwards 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 oxygen atom is there. Now potassium and chromium atoms are balanced on both the sides, but chlorine is still not balanced. So we can put 10 in front of HCl to make the chlorine atoms equal to 10. So the equation now becomes K2Cr2O7 plus 10 HCl gives 2 KCl plus 2 CrCl3 plus H2O plus Cl2. So now again counting the number of atoms of each element on both the sides. On left hand side we have 2 potassium atoms, 2 chromium atoms, 10 chlorine atoms, 10 hydrogen atoms and 7 oxygen atoms. And on right hand side we have 2 potassium atoms, 2 chromium atoms and chlorine atoms, 2 in KCl plus 2 here, 2 3s are 6 plus 2 in Cl2. These are total 10 chlorine atoms. And hydrogen atoms we have 2 and oxygen atoms 1. Now here hydrogen and oxygen atoms are left for balancing. So to balance oxygen atoms, we have to make the two numbers equal to each other. On the left hand side we have 7 oxygen atoms, and on right hand side if we want to make 7 oxygen atoms, we can put 7 in front of H2O. So writing the equation like this, we have to write 7 in front of H2O. So again counting the number of atoms on both the sides. On left hand side we have 2 potassium atoms, 2 chromium atoms, 10 chlorine atoms, 10 hydrogen atoms and 7 oxygen atoms. And on right hand side we have 2 potassium atoms, 2 chromium atoms and chlorine atoms, 2 plus 2 3s are 6 plus 2 equal to 10. And hydrogen atoms now here are 7 2s are 14 and oxygen atoms we have 7. Now here number of hydrogen atoms are unequal on both the sides. So to balance the number of hydrogen atoms, on right hand side we have 14 hydrogen atoms and on left hand side we have 10 hydrogen atoms. If we write here 14 instead of 10, then here also we will have 14 hydrogen atoms. So rewriting the equation like, here instead of 10 we have to write 14. Here it was 2, 2 and 7. These are same as the previous equation. So now let's again count the number of atoms. 2 potassium on left hand side, 2 chromium on left hand side, then 7 oxygen atoms are there, 14 chlorine atoms are there and 14 hydrogen atoms are there. And on right hand side we haven't made any change here, so we can rewrite the same number of atoms, 2, 2, 10, 14 and 7. Now here chlorine atoms are not balanced. On left hand side we have 14 chlorine atoms and on right hand side we have 10 chlorine atoms. So to make it 14, now let's count the number of chlorine atoms here. 2 plus 3 2s are 6, total 8. To make it 14, we need 6 more atoms of chlorine. So to make it 6, if we put 3 in front of Cl2, then total number of chlorine atoms on right hand side will become 2 here plus 3 2s are 6 plus 3 2s are 6. Total will become 14. So the change we need to do here is to write 3 in front of Cl2. So writing the equation like 2, 7 and 3. So now we have 2 potassium atoms on both the sides, 2 chromium atoms on both the sides, 14 chlorine atoms on both the sides and 14 hydrogen atoms on both the sides and 7 oxygen atoms on both the sides. So the balanced equation here is K2Cr2O7 plus 14 HCl gives 2 KCl plus 2CrCl3 plus 7H2O plus 3Cl2.